What is up, everybody? Shauna D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having yourselves a great weekend, relaxing after probably a long week of working for a lot of you. But we are back to do a quick little movie review for Evil Dead Burn. So this is I guess if you want to call it, the third installment of the remake of the series. But I believe this is let's see. I believe this is the fifth, fifth or fourth installment. Um, I'm trying to see. Let me look real quick now. Think about it. Um, so, oh, actually, no, there's actually more. There's some I have not seen. So there's the 1981 The Evil Dead, obviously the original. Evil Dead 2 came out 6 years later in 87. Army of Darkness in 93. And then that is where the remakes come into play with Evil Dead in 2013, Evil Dead Rise in 2023. Wow, a 10-year gap between that one and Evil Dead Rise, and then obviously Evil Dead Burn came out this weekend. So in total there is six. Was a seventh one basically being planned for 2028. That looks like that's gonna be titled as Evil Dead Wrath. And quite honestly, I wish they would just stop. I'm not saying I don't like the Evil Dead franchise, although I have not seen Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness. I have not seen those two. I may have to try to take a look and try to find those to watch those. But so this movie again is part of the 2013 and on series of Evil Dead films, where in this movie obviously we got brand new people, although there are some people that make, if I there's a post credit scene that I did not stick around for, that I didn't know about. I did read it what it was, um, but needless to say, the movie revolves essentially the family of what was his name? Uh, I gotta find it. I gotta find it. I gotta find his name. Dadgum. Shoot, I don't remember his name. But well, you know how there's always the voice that talks about, you know, you know, finding the necro not I forgot how you say it. Finding the evil book and everything, and unleashing the demons and all the whatever. You know that voice that's always like on the tape recordings and stuff like that. Well, essentially, this movie revolves, or not really revolves around his family, although they do have a part in it, because the opening of the movie, you have the character Will. Now, Will is researching, he's listening to his grandfather's recording. Now, the family thought he was crazy. But he talks about, as he's like writing and things like that, and listening to the tape, he talks about how he found a weapon that can stop the evil beings, and the entities cannot find it. Um, Otherwise, it's basically game over. So the film not really revolves around that, around the family and everything, but they are a part of it. Um, it plays. I'm not really gonna go, scene by scene of it. These movies have gotten, like, I feel like these movies have gotten more gorier and gorier, particularly with Evil Dead Rise and then Evil Dead Burn. I still think, excluding the originals, the 81, the 87, and the 93. And obviously, again, I have not seen Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness, but I'm gonna put those aside in the group with Evil Dead. Out of the like remake of the franchise, I still think the 2013 version is the best of these three. I didn't. I don't know. It just feels like these are getting like a little goofy for my liking. They're supposed to be like these the supernatural horror type of thing, but there's just some things in it where it's just kind of like you've seen it before, so you're just kind of like, meh. Um, I'm trying to think. There's uh this time you're dealing with multiple possessions throughout the film. Like basically the family gets possessed, and it's always like the final girl who survives and that kind of thing. I mean, I guess casting was fine. Like the movie felt like it went on a little too long. Um, Let me see. The movie was only what was the runtime for this movie? Uh, Trying to see if it tells me. Yeah, let's just go here. The runtime for this movie was really only an hour and 9 minutes. Wait, 109 minutes? That doesn't feel right. Hold on, let me make sure. That doesn't feel. Let's see. That's probably wrong. Okay, that's what I thought. I felt like it was wrong. So, um, or maybe I read it wrong. But anyway, it is. Oh no, I read it wrong. So it's equivalent to uh an hour and 50 minutes. So about almost a 2 hour film. I think you could have cut some stuff out. It felt a little dragging on, it's particularly in the third act. The whole climax of the film, the fighting that's going on in the house, and then it just leads to a construction site. It just felt like it went on a little too long. The deaths were pretty gruesome. The movie really, it kind of did this with Evil Dead Rise, in my opinion, where the movie kind of like just jumps right into it. There is a small build up, but it quickly jumps into the action and things like that. It's not like it's long drawn out of the entity slowly possessing, even though that kind of does happen in the movie. It felt like it was a little bit quicker compared to um, at least the 2013 Evil Dead, and then Evil Dead Rise was probably the same. It took a little bit for that to take over, but the first person in Evil Dead Burn that gets taken over is the father, Edgar. That man killed a dog. That's not cool. But he slowly starts to take over, and like he kills he kills his son's girlfriend, which the son in this movie is a piece of, what was his name? Let me find his name. Where's he at? Hunter Duhan, if I think that's right. He played Joseph. Bro, what are we doing? Bro left his girlfriend essentially to get killed by by his dad. It was pretty wild. He had the opportunity to shoot his dad, but in hindsight, it wouldn't have really mattered because we see in a scene later in the not really long after you know the dad goes crazy and kills uh uh Joseph's girlfriend. I can't remember. I can't think of her name. That like he has the gun and he shoots himself like three different times, and it's just like, yeah, I guess the gun wouldn't have worked in this situation for sure. Um, but throughout the movie, it is just I don't know. It just feels a little goofy to me with some of the stuff that happens because like you have the grandma, for instance. Now clearly she's not all there. Uh, like she thinks Joseph's girlfriend is trying to steal her money, and there's like a scene where they're able to lock her. Not I think her name is Thea. It's like Thya, I guess however you want to pronounce it. We're just gonna say Thea. Uh, they lock Thea because it kind of happens with like what you saw in the trailer where she comes in and she like drinks the candle wax and all that stuff, but they lock her in like in the basement essentially. And the grandma's like, "You came back to steal my money, didn't you?" And possessed Thea's just like, "Oh yeah," like it's just there's just some goofy stuff about it. I'm just kind of like, it's not really horror. I mean, if you want to say maybe supernatural, fine, but it's not really. There's nothing horror about it. Um, and then I mentioned like the gore, like, oh wow, that is like you have the grandma at a certain point, she gets possessed. Although we'll say this was a pretty creepy scene where the mother, played by Tandy Wright, she like this is just after Joseph kills Thea again. Um, the mom Susan, the character's name is Susan. She's tell her mom goodnight and everything. And then it's like a moment where, like, as she's walking out the room, I don't remember if it was in any of the trailers, but as she's like walking out the room, she kind of like sits up, like in a very just creepy Michael Myers kind of way. Uh, it was just so, it was just creepy. Um, and then there's a moment where it's just again, it just felt like some stuff dragged on too long. There is a moment where like Edgar is not only fighting Joseph, but I guess you could say Susan as well, even though Susan is trying to keep Edgar from hurting Joseph and everything like that. But it's just they're like fighting around the house, and it kind of drags on a lot. Like he is being Joseph and I guess Susan for the most part, they're just being ragged all around the house, just destroying everything, slammed into walls, being yeeted up into the ceiling and stuff like that. You have Alice, who's one of the main characters. She is just like scrambling to find a place to hide and everything, and it just felt a little dragged on, and that's kind of how I feel with the third act of this movie. There's just it dragged on a little bit. What was the runtime for the Evil Dead Rise? I don't remember. It's about the same. So Evil Dead Rise was about a few like an hour and 36. So about 14 minutes 14 minutes or so shorter. What about Evil Dead 2013? Okay, so 2013 and Evil Dead Rise, they both were around an hour and 30 minutes. And this one was about almost 2 hours. I think they could have cut out. I don't. I think they could have cut some stuff out. I think they could have like shortened some stuff because I feel like it just didn't need to go as long as it did. But that's just obviously my thoughts about it. Um, budget wise, let's see, what was the budget? I saw it. Budget wise, so this movie from a reported budget production about $20 million. I could probably see it is getting its money back. I can definitely see it is getting its money back. I don't know what the projected box office was for the movie. Um, and there is a post credit scene as well that happened, and I'll talk about it in a second. So Evil Dead Burn, at least at the time we're recording this, Evil Dead Burn is currently projected to gross between 20 million and 35 million during its opening weekend. Um, so the movie brought in $2.3 million from Thursday. Okay. Okay. Um, what was the budget for the other ones? So what was Evil Dead Rise's budget? Oh, interesting. So Evil Dead Rise was 15 to 20 million. Uh, their budget about 2013, 17 million. That is interesting. That is interesting that these movies, all three movies, were anywhere from 17 million to about 20 million. It'll probably make their, yeah, I think it'll make its money back. I do think it'll make its money back. Um, oh, so yeah, there was like a post credit scene that I did not stick around for. I didn't even know there was gonna be a post credit. I should have. I don't think there was one in the second one. Um, let me see. Let me go and turn this off. But do this, do this. All right. So, all right. So there is a mid credit scene shortly after Alice, the main protagonist, survives the onslaught of the demons by the skin of her teeth after she's taken out by most. After she's asked what happened, we cut to the credits. We learned that one of the demons actually escaped. The family's grand. Okay, so the grandmother. Okay, so the grandmother escaped with her one leg because she literally like took a piece of glass. Because in the movie, Alice like straps. Because the grandmother has to sit in one of those chairs that they have to like ride up to get upstairs. Alice goes and like kind of like straps her leg into it and just lets it take her back downstairs. And then you see her take a piece of glass that Alice has stabbed her in the eye with, and she starts cutting her leg like a coyote in a trap. Um, so the family's grandmother is seen crawling down the road. It's sunny out, suggests that she's been on the move for a while, and it appears that she's the sole surviving member. She's dragging herself through the road due to her missing leg. Which, okay. Oh, and she also had a prosthetic leg too. Um, the Samaritan jumps out of her car. No other hides her terrifying playing victim until the woman turns away. She then attacks, spreading the curse further. Okay, so the grandmother infects somebody else. Now there is the post credit scene. So 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 the scene takes us back to the funeral home where Will's family hosted his funeral. It follows the funeral worker and her daughter as they clean up and organize the home. The two enter a room with some urns, and the woman explains that some of the ashes are never picked up by the families. She leaves, and her daughter steps closer to them to read some names aloud. Ellie Bixler, she was in Evil Dead Rise. She says, promoting a flickering from the fluorescent lights. The little girl looks into the mirror and sees Ellie Bixler reflection. It's her her pre-deadite form. When a girl touches the mirror, transforms into her demonic form, slicing the girl's neck and killing her. So, yeah. So that's basically how. That's basically the post credit scenes. So. But we are gonna get a Evil Dead Wrath. It looks like the seems like the protagonist in Evil Dead Rise, and then whatever is gonna happen with that happened with the grandmother, pass it on the curse to the Good Samaritan. Interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, overall, it was an okay movie. I don't know. It just when there's like multiple entries in a franchise like this, like it kind of just plays out. Like you kind of know what to expect. You know somebody's gonna, either read the book. Although there was a funny moment because Alice finds the drawings. Because again, Will was researching all this stuff about his granddad, and obviously he had conversations with Joseph and stuff like that. But like you see, Alice starts like reading off some of the name, like the wording that they do throughout the movies to get possessed and stuff like that. And then before she says the last word, she's like, F this, and she doesn't do it. It's like, okay, that's fun. That's nice. But yeah, Evil Dead Rides, I think maybe, I don't know. I think this is, I think this is like a 6 out of 10 for me. Honestly, I still think the 2013 is better out of the post 2013 ones. So you 2013, 2023, 2026, those three, I think 2013 is the best out of them. So, but yeah, I mean, but we'll see what happens in 2028 in 2 years with Evil Dead Wrath. But guys, that is my thoughts on Evil Dead Burn. Have you seen it? Drop in the comment section. What did you think about it? If you have not seen it, are you going to go see it? You can also find me on the gaming channel, Kick, Twitch, Rumble, the Nerd Talk podcast on Spotify. All that you can find down in the description below. But thank you guys again for hanging out. Thank you guys again for watching. And I will see you all in the next video. Y'all have a good one.